holding the show up. Really appreciate you, buddy. I couldn't thank you anymore. Anyway, ladies and gents, we're live on YouTube. It's the peasant, the prodigious. It's Professor Johnson at Proclamation News and Gatherance. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. It's Friday, the 20th of November, 2020. You can follow me on YouTube, all you other listeners on my radio cast box. You can click on my bio. It's Proclamation News and Gatherance. Me and Scotty Gavin will be live tonight for 2 hours. We've got a co-host on the show. Scotty Gavin's going to be talking about US politics in the Reuters news. I am with the BBC, with the UK politics. I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. We can start. We want the audience to debate with the show to make it more obtainable, more accessible, more approachable. And it's important that we get the audience's opinion. Thank you all for listening. It means an awful lot that you tune in daily. Thank you so much. Hope you can hear me. I can't see my usual content come up my box where you can talk to people. I'm not sure what's going on right now, but we're going to keep motivated. Motivated. Thank you. Oh, it's all right. It's a live chat thing, so I can see it now. It's all right. That's what I want. Live chat. Live chat. Live chat. Live chat. Oh, I can't see it. Oh no. Hang on. Bear with me 2 seconds, gents. I want that live chat so I can see who's here, calling in, listening in. We're on also on YouTube, guys. If you want to click onto our YouTube content, go onto YouTube. It's Proclamation Government, same on Castbox. On the radio cast, it's on my bio. Click on my bio. You can call in, giving us answers for the questions. We're going to get going with the introduction. Always have an introduction just to get me going, get me in the swing of things. It's going to be a long cast, about 2 hours long, as usual, giving the people what they want. Here we go. Enjoy.
Mental, minty, fixing up a homeless from night shelter and food deprivation. These are self from across the nation. Going back to the park, Jesus is risen. Here we go. Let's hit it. Let's hit the show. Yeah, come on, Proc. Feel the beat. I know you got what it takes. Proc, come on, Proc. Hit the rock. Hit the clock. The time's clocking down. Stop clowning around, Proc. Here we go. Feel the beat. Jesus Christ is risen. It's a purposive resurrection. Jesus is risen. It's a purposive resurrection. Now he's here to stay, to give us a direction. At this damn moment, we're heading in the wrong direction. I don't know what we're gonna do. Exit with the Brexit or the EU. All I know, one of his disciples, Bojo, is in the firing line as one of Jesus' selection. At this damn time, at this damn moment in time, we're heading in the wrong direction. I don't know what we're going to do, exit with the Brexit or the EU. All I know, one of his disciples, Bojo, is in the firing line as one of his selection. This minute in time, the whole damn world is corroding on population growth. In the UK is overloading. This minute in time, the whole damn world is corroding on population growth. In the UK is overloading. We need this Brexit to form a unity, to protect our community. I spit these lyrics with diva, but I'm a firm believer. We're gonna be a real receiver. Send out meditations upon casters visit all different nations. We need this Brexit to form a unity, to protect our community. I spit these lyrics with diva, but I'm a firm believer. We're gonna be a real achiever. Send out meditations. You're all different nations. Every day we're praying so hard to battle these sporadic night crimes from happening all over the globe. I sit sometimes and think to myself, when's it all gonna stop? Sometimes in life, certain things you all gotta drop. What happened to carry to responsibilities for these dumb juvenile kids with their no possibilities? All I know is we're heading in the wrong direction. Jesus knows he's gonna make us a selection. Come on, Brock, what's it gonna be? What happened to parental responsibilities? These dumb juvenile kids, there's no possibilities. All I know is we're heading in the wrong direction. Jesus knows he's gonna make us a selection. I'm gonna sing hallelujah, amen. It's our time to shine and stop this dreaded night crime. We're gonna put a bop to it. We're gonna sing a stop to it. We gotta put a stop to it. There's no forbearance for the parents to the dumbass kids playing Grand Theft Auto, smoking weed or Assassin's Creed. They don't know playing silly games ain't gonna earn them no dough. Join the army, kid, soon the world gonna blow. Our community, our country, our safety is paramount. Parliamentary sovereignty, the law is the law divide above all judiciary in the UK. Laws divide, laws multiply. We raise you, God praise you. Now all you can do is sit here, living on welfare. Our community, our country is our safety, it is paramount. Parliamentary sovereignty is law divide above all other judiciary in the UK. Laws divide, laws multiply. We raise you, God praise you. Now all you can do is sit here, you're living on welfare. Amen. Here we go, Proc. It's a capital P. You know what it's gotta be. Here we go. The capital P in proclamation. Professor Johnson introducing you to inconspicuous. Here we go. You know I can sing it. You know I can wing it. H to the E to the R to the T. The FORD SHIRE. Hertfordshire. That's where it's at. We're straight talking. We're talking my pedigree. We've never been no anti-Semitism. Totally against terrorism. We need to stop this scrutiny to our community. At first I didn't know. I put a rhyme to this until I dialed 99 and put a crime to this. No, never been no anti-Semitism. Totally against terrorism. We need to stop the scrutiny to our community. At first I didn't know. I put a rhyme to this until I dialed 999 and put a crime to this. Last year I would have stuck a fist to this. Now I stick a gist to this. I'm like Justin this boy and Marta. It's legit. I just got smarter. After I didn't know, I could have put a rhyme to this until I dialed 99 and put a crime to this. Last year I would have stuck a fist to this. Now I'll stick a gist to this. I'm like Justin this boy Marta. It's legit. I just got smart. I remember when I used to get bullied in first grade about my speech impediment. Now my rhyme's right, my rhyme's tight. These girls say I'm unapproachable. They say I look like from Mauritius, looking all kinds of delicious. My real name is Justin. Can consider why the girls ain't trusting. These girls say I'm unapproachable. They say I look like I'm from Mauritius, looking all kinds of delicious. My real name's Justin. They can clearly see why the girls ain't trusting. They become inconspicuous. I'm an apologetic apologist. There's a reason I got no forbearance. I was born with no parents. I joined the Nigerian Christian Gospel Church like the white opposite version of Sister Mary Clarence. I joined the Nigerian Gospel Church like a white opposite version of Sister Mary Clarence. Now I'm there every Sunday making appearance. I'm also the convener facilitator, the gospel illustrator, a full bank support worker, accumulator. The reason I got no forbearance, I was born with no parents.
Thank you for my loyal listeners. Stay in tune. We're going to get going. I always have a little break just before go because it'll be 2 hours long. We're going to get through a few columns, have a short break, And here we go. It's the peasant, it's the prodigious, it's the proclamation news and Gavin's Professor Johnson. Thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. Happy Friday. We got through another pandemic lockdown. Whichever way you look at it, if you take it realistically, if you take it as conspiracy theory, if you take it as propaganda, if you take it as fake news, you know, still washing their hands, we're still wearing a mask for the safety of others. Don't wear a mask for the safety of yourself, wear it for the safety of others to stop people moaning. Let's just stick by the rules and regulations because we have to. If it's a 30 mile per hour limit, there's no point going 60. Basically, just take the rules and regulations into consideration. Otherwise, you can get fined. As simple as that. Anyway, moving on. There's no business like a show business. Thank you, DJ Pappy, for holding up the show. I really appreciate you, buddy. Everyone listening on the radio, you can subscribe to that. And we're giving away free giveaways with Prox Art. Prox Art. And we're gonna be like I'm gonna do it live on YouTube so you listeners can get involved as well. No business like show business. Hip hop star Rodney P admits ex girlfriend attacked him. Rodney P ex girlfriend has attacked him. Yeah, it happened to me as well, but you know, I'm not in the media, unfortunately. Pioneering British hip hop star and former BBC One extra DJ Rodney P has admitted assaulting he assaulting an ex girlfriend. The woman has told the BBC he struck her in the face and grabbed her throat. Wow. In attack, she says she was feared would be a lights out moment. Wow, that's shocking news. Supporting feminism, punching a woman in the face is not acceptable. Well done for being a man and own up, though. That's all I can say. Not many men would own up to the provocation caused by a woman and then in abusing her. Well done by the DJ. The DJ also confirmed to BBC News that he is sentenced to 15 weeks in prison after pleading guilty to assault another woman in 2012. In a statement, Rodney P. he was ashamed of other assaults. Rodney P. real name Rodney Panton Edwards is regarded as a pioneer of British rap music and has been christened some of the godfather of British hip hop. The DJ recorded label True Thoughts says it has suspended its work with him after allegations of historic abuse were posted on social media. Edwards denies those allegations, but he's admitted that he has done one domestic abuse violence to a woman. It's absolutely shocking. Masculine men hitting feminism. Women are more feeble than men. Not all, because someone like Nico Adams would have took his head clean off, I'm pretty sure. But this is horrific news. Men are more masculine than women. Men should never strike a woman. Absolutely. And I'll stand by it. I can safely say I've never struck my woman in the face. Or, defensively, I might have done it in the arm to get her off me, but nothing to the extent of, possibly giving her brain damage. That is shocking. Never strike a woman in the face. Women shouldn't be there to be hit, but then a woman should be hitting a man. Simple as that. I'm not here to stir up the confidence for men to be striking a woman because that's not the way we do things in a polite mannerism. Best thing to do is, even if you upset the children, is to get your stuff and walk. It's not always the easy option if you want to be the father of your children and a woman takes children, but you got to do what's best for the kids for the sake of hurting a feeble woman. But on the other, I know how you guys think. Why should a woman be able to, a man could dip his wick and not get away with it and be, abused by a woman and they get half a sentence. But a man abuse a woman for them dipping on another man's wick is a total different story, isn't it? That's a whole different ballgame. The man comes home angrily and frustrated, but you got to do it. You got to get it by without using domestic violence, abuse. Yeah, fair enough, but not violence. Try and avoid domestic abuse as well at all costs. But it's in that scenario, it's a hard call, isn't it? You're hurting your girlfriend, caught your girlfriend in bed with your best mate. Perhaps I'm not saying what this situation is. It's probably something nowhere near as what I'm aiming at. I don't know. No one knows the case, so who knows? Anyway, thought that it was it. The former girlfriend who spoke anonymously to BBC says the DJ hit her with the back of his hand and pinned her against the wall. After their relationship ended, The woman said she met Edward in the hip hop scene around London almost 30 years ago. She said the DJ wasn't violent during the relationship, but things changed after he heard she had started seeing someone else following the split. There you go. Describing the attack, she said Edwards began reading her diary and then backhanded me in the mouth, leaving with a split lip. Wow. She said he then went to the bathroom with a diary, shutting her out, adding, he opened the door, dragging me in by my neck, pinned me up against the wall, and wanted to know real intimate details. Yeah, you can sort. It's a backhand. It shouldn't be using violence, but there's men out there that strike with a fist. With a clenched fist. It's a different ball game. His intentions weren't you know, to totally abuse her. Backhand is bad enough, but his intentions weren't to pulverise her head. Is what I'm saying. It's still not good. He wanted to hear the worst possible case scenario. Every time I answered was just lifting me up by the throat. I thought that was it. I thought that was going to be lights out moment. I mean, let's get this back in the frame like before we move on. This guy is a rapper. He's probably a well-known artist. This is why it's in the media. There's a lot of other unforeseen circumstances with women that are not with a rapper. Not got a name out there, so their name's not going to be mentioned because domestic violence to the average Joe blogs of a woman, with a clenched fist, is not going to be recognised in a newspaper, on a big newspaper. Not making the mainstream media because he hasn't got a big name, he hasn't got big support, he hasn't got big, a big load of democracy supporting him. Going, oh my goodness, it's not something to write about, is it? But little something little as this man's gonna get an absolute terrible name. I mean, let's admit it. Being a anyone could join there. Senku, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you coming and supporting the show. We're on YouTube as well. If you'd like to follow YouTube content, no problem. She said it was the only time he was violent towards her, but said he then subjected her to controlling a psychological abuse for up to a year afterwards, which had detrimental impact on her mental health. In a statement to the BBC, Edwards said, "I could not comment on the impact of my actions may have had on her mental health." He said the incident ended their relationship, adding, "I'd like to repeat now, I am still deeply sorry that I have hurt her." Yeah, I know. At the same time, you got to take the assumptions from other other things that have gone on in the media. And there's a lot of things going on behind closed doors. People that haven't got a name, haven't got hit the mainstream media. See it in the walking through the town centre. You know, guys that should be in a metropolitan lunatic asylum because they do strike their missus with a clenched fist. You see a woman walking through town with a black eye, where a man's obviously, husband's obviously struck her for an argument. That is domestic violence at its finest. I'm trying to, you always see things. We've all been in a situation, a rocky relationship. We all have, in the past. Not the present, I'm hoping, but in the past, we learn from mistakes and move on in an etiquette sense. I hope. Not all of you, but most of us learn by mistakes. You realise alcoholism or whatever you did in the previous life didn't work. You knew it's messing with your thinking mechanism. The chemical imbalance ain't clear, nor is hers. So she's winding you up just as much as you're winding her up, and then causing domestic violence. Who is Rodney P? He was a member of the hip hop London Pose, which was in 1980 and 1990. It is credited with giving British rap music its own identity. As a rapper, he continued a solo career performing on stage for decades. He began presenting on BBC Radio 1 Extra show called The Original Fever in 2002. It lasted for over 6 years. He interviewed some of the biggest names in the hip hop community for the show, including Pharrell Williams, Kanye West, and 50 Cent. He has since gone in to present documentaries for BBC Four, including Rodney P's Jazz Funk. And also another thing, when it gets into domestic abuse thing, a lady's always going to add a mental health thing on to get the support she needs. And I know disrespect to women because I support feminism. I'd say it time and time again, and you hear me support feminism, like especially within equal pay with men, inequalities as women as well, because women do get brushed off the platform in a lot of things. But when they're playing this, they don't get away with domestic card all the time and putting adding extra things to the storyline to get a better name for himself in the media is not the way forward because everyone will jump on the bandwagon. The media will jump all over it and they will tarnish this young rapper as he's not going to be a rapper no more because he's domestic violence. Let's not support him. They're trying to take him off his job. It's not nice. See it with Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, there's clearly no hard evidence. Obviously, there's hard evidence that he's admitted to what happened, but she's adding on to it's an ongoing trauma. I've been hit slapped in the mouth. I've been hit in the head with a lump hammer, a baseball bat. I've been hit in the head for the sake of my children. There's a lot of things I've been hit in the head for. Um, but I'm not sitting there asking for violin to be blowing up my backside. I'm getting on with my life. Edwards almost confirmed to BBC News that he pleaded guilty to actual bodily harm and was sentenced to 15 weeks in prison after an attack on another woman in 2012. I mean, I could write to the media, talk about, I could say to the media, my ex-wife, I could have said to the police, I could have got her convicted. She got me convicted of domestic abuse. She done domestic violence to me, but I didn't get her convicted because I want my kids taken off the mother as well as myself and then end up uh, in care without parents. It's not a thing to do, is it? It's not wise. It's not clever. It's not big to take the kids away from parents. I've got the kids taken away from me. I'm in court as we speak, trying to argue the case. But I'm not saying about anything the mother's done to to me. It's all there in the court in the police report. But if they use it in the court or not, I don't know. Addressing the conviction, he said, "I'm deeply ashamed of my actions at that time, and I was sentenced to 15 weeks imprisonment. I was wrong, and I paid the price. I've worked hard for over 10 years to be accountable for my actions." In a statement, True Thoughts, Reckles said it takes domestic abuse very seriously and does not condone abusive behaviour in any way. Well, he took it into account. Yeah, he did strike the woman. He does need to pay the price, but he's paid the price by admitting what he's done. Culture and support group, Dope Black Dads, which aims to change the way black fathers are perceived, has also removed Edwards as a contributor after talking to him about domestic abuse allegations. I mean, he's learnt his lesson. He said sorry before it's even appeared. So he said sorry. We have read the statement regarding allegations about body plea and domestic abuse, which we understand we have been denied. We take domestic abuse very seriously and we do not condone abusive behaviour in any way. All allegations should be investigated in the appropriate manner. Or work with Rodney P is currently suspended. We understand Rodney P will be making a full statement soon. You know what the trouble is in a lot of relationships? I mean, if a father has got children with a mother, he wants to stay with that mother for the rest of his life. But at the same time, a relationship is like a pair of trainers, isn't it? A relationship is like a pair of trainers. Relationships, trainers wear out, relationships wear out. The love wears out. You got to try and keep it amicable, reciprocated all the time. You got to try and understand each other. If you're not getting on, sometimes you've got to walk, air the problem out, then come back. Because sometimes when you're out of mind, out of sight, the heart grows fonder. And if it doesn't, that love's not there. She's moving on, or he's moved on after that. And he's not coming back. That's when you realise. Time and forbearance is cure as well to a lot of arguments. Just airing your argument out, airing your domestic argument out. Everyone has a domestic argument. If who's cleaning the dishes, who's cooking, you need to go for a walk, air it out. Anyway, it comes after people felt this way this year, which would be define a moment for black women in the entertainment industry as women joined the global Me Too movement to speak out about their experience of abuse. It's important that women get this talk because they do get a lot of domestic violence in a relationship, and now they're weak and feeble compared to a lot of masculine men. Although my ex-trainer was more masculine and well stronger than what I am, she could pick me up and slung me across the gym. But not all women are the same. Not all women are built the same because they're at home to be mothers to their children, to do the chores at home, look after their man, do the dinner. But the black British music industry is relatively small and for some is still a problem. Andrew Simon from the end violence against women connotation said the industry still has a lot of people with power and influence. There is definitely huge power dynamics at the play which will make people feel like they can't speak out, which certain parts of the music industry there is an exemption of misogynistic language, and that feels into the whole thing of being a woman in a space of not feeling like she can speak out about stuff. I mean, do you think it's important that women can speak out about this stuff? And it's like men, isn't it? I mean, men also, you know, men need a place where they can air their frustration out rather than causing this domestic violence. How to cope, have a coping mechanism, how to deal with women, because women can be almost as feisty as men, but not in a way of hurting a man, but immensely hurting a man. A man needs to go and find out his quiet place to speak with other men that are struggling also. She said EVAW has been calling on the government to fund services aimed specifically at black women, without the industry saying they'll be get behind. That will be accept young women feeling uncomfortable, and that is hard to progress. I mean, many years ago, you'd be looking at your YouTube channel. I'd be sitting here in my boxer shorts. So I was a boxer. For my any girlfriend that I'd have at that present time, it's hard for them to take in. If I was with a girlfriend that was a ballet dancer in front of the whole world, you've got the whole world looking at them, but I'll be comfortable. I never put myself in a woman's shoes in that perspective when I stand in that boxing ring. I had the eyes of the whole world watching me when I was in the ring. That's probably, that could have been half the reason why we had a lot of arguments, a lot of domestics in the house. You got women in looking at her, things like that, stupid things, checking my phone, silly little things could have caused a lot of arguments, a lot of jealousy, and it still could happen today if I pursued my way in that mannerism. I've come away from the better man. I don't want to be that show. I don't want to be that show pony or the trophy piece on someone's mantelpiece anymore. Get as much done as possible. So I want to flow through the show. We've been on for half hour already. I might cut it down for an hour and a half. I was going to do over 2 hours, but I don't think I've got the time because I've got a call at 3 o'clock. I've got to get paid all my stuff for the tutorial. Over Overnight curfew for the most California. Well, COVID infection rates levelling off in England and Scotland. We've got Drakeford, no sticking point over UK Christmas rules. Drakeford says he hopes the UK agreement on regulations around Christmas will extend beyond travel rules. He says that different traditions in our four UK nations will need to be reflected. For example, the importance of Hogmanay celebrations in Scotland. Drakeford adds that there will be a further meeting between UK nations once further research by scientists has been completed. There are no sticking points and there are no disagreements, he says. For continuing live coverage of the press conference, head to our Wales live page. Infection rates are levelling off in England, Scotland, and decreasing in Wales and Northern Ireland. Week, last weekly data of the Office of National Statistics suggests. I mean, before I move on, I'll finish this little sentence actually. Rates in school-age children are rising while they're falling in young adults. The figures cover the week of 14 November, 9 days after the second lockdown was introduced in England. Imagine if you've got family in Scotland, they want to travel, they've got their mum in England and they can't travel. It's like if you've got parents living abroad, you come over to England for university and you want your parents to come over for Christmas. You can't then get on a flight to see your parents. It's going to be hard, isn't it? It's Christmas. It's going to be hard, especially if your parents are like in the 70s. Going to worry, are they going to make next year, next Christmas, for another cold term? People, everyone's immune system's lower in the winter months. You can die of anything, any kind of pneumonia, swine flu, anything. Your immune system is low. Meningitis, you don't know what's around the corner. It's important that we lift the restrictions off for Christmas so everyone see their loved ones over Christmas. It's going to be hard. No further relaxation of rules in Wales, says Mark Drakeford. There is no room for the further relaxation of coronavirus measures in Wales, and they will stay same for the next 2 weeks. First Minister Mark Drakeford says, speaking at a press conference He stressed how important individual choices were to defeating coronavirus. We need everyone, every single one of us, to play our part to make sure we continue to build on the progress of the firebreak and keep those cases falling. He said, he added, we know what to do. Avoiding contact with other people, avoiding public transport where possible, and working from home for those who can. If we can do all this together, we can have a path through our Christmas. The Welsh Government is working on a point plan with the other UK nations. We're going to get through this quick as possible because I need to get off and get my stuff ready for my tutorial lesson. Bullying inquiry quits. Bullying inquiry head quits as PM backs Patel. Boris Johnson, advisor on ministerial code, resigns after the PM backs Home Secretary Priti Patel after bullying inquiry. The government standards advisor Sir Alex Allen found Ms Patel's approach amounted to behaviour that can be described as bullying. Ms Patel released a statement saying she was sorry that my behaviour in the past has upset people. The government said the PM had full confidence in the Home Secretary. A statement said Mr Johnson was reassured that the Home Secretary is sorry for inadvertently upsetting those with whom she was working. He also reassured that relationship, practice and culture in the Home Office are much improved, he said. Let's say about Priti Patel. I mean, she has been discriminated in the Parliament herself by Tony Blair, for her culture. So she's probably got her back up. And then, what it's like. It's horses for course. You get picked on, you take it on, not on the person that's picked on you, you take it on the next person that's next to you in your everyday life. I get a problem at school, I go home and give the problem to mum and dad. It's not nice. You need, they say a problem shared is a problem. A problem halved is a problem shared. You halve the problem with your loved ones, and you take it out on your loved ones. That's the way it works. It's not good. You're getting tarnished with a brush about your culture, and you're upset. You go home and take it out on your parents. It's not your parents' fault that you're the same culture as your parents, or I mean, I used to get picked on because my mum's skin colour at school. And I go home and not take it out on my parents because they give me their skin colour, but take the frustration home that I've been picked on at school because of my mum's skin colour. I'm trying to explain. I'm angry because these stupid juveniles have discriminated me from school years. Probably same as Priti Patel. She's gone back to her office. Tony Blair's give her a hard time at her day's work at Parliament. She's gone back to her office, taking out all her colleagues at work. The way she's been spoken to by Tony Blair, she goes and speak to her other secretaries in her office, exactly the same. Sir Alex announced his resignation as the Prime Minister released his statement on the report findings. I recognise that it is for the Prime Minister to make a judgment on whether actions by a Minister amount to breach of the Ministerial Code, he said. But I feel that it is right that I should now resign from my position as the Prime Minister Independent Advisor on the Code. This breaking news story is being updated and more details will be published shortly. Thank you all for listening, guys. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. My bio is Proclamation News and Gatherance. It's the prodigious. It's appointment of Professor at PNG. Thank you all. I'm on Castbox, YouTube. Absolutely building my channel. I appreciate everyone listening, supporting the show. We're going to have question time tonight at 7 o'clock. Make sure you listen in. Windrush scandal inquiry launched in conversation scheme. You've got to be in it to win it. You can have 5 people answering the questions. You can have commuters on my Castbox. We can have commuters on my radio cast. We can have commuters on YouTube. It's got to be 5 people participating. So you guys on YouTube, if you're listening in at 7, make sure you write a comment so we know you're in the game. People on radio, make sure you comment your answers to my questions I do tonight at 7 p.m. Me and Scotty Gavin will be running the show. Co-host Scotty. Well, no, he's not co-host. He's a main host for me, but I like to say co-host because I'm speaking at the moment. Sure, we are reciprocated. We are amicable speakers. An inquiry has been launched into the compensation scheme set up for victims of the Windrush scandal. The BBC found several victims had died before receiving compensation. The scandal saw some British citizens and Caribbean backgrounds deported or threatened with deportation despite having the right to live in the UK. Yvette Cooper, chair of the Home Affairs Committee, said MPs were deeply concerned about problems with the scheme. She added, it is immensely important that the huge injustice experienced by the Windrush generation at the hands of the UK are not compounded by problems in the compensation scheme. That was supposed to right those wrongs. Official figures published in October show at around 12% of Windrush victims claiming compensation have received payouts. At least 9 people have died before receiving compensation. Home Office data shows 71 claims have been made for people who have already died, but so far only 3 have resulted in payments. Last year, the most senior black member of the Home Office staying working on compensation scheme resigned. She told The Guardian the scheme was systematically racist and unfit for purpose. The results speak for themselves. The sluggishness of getting money to people, or the unwillingness to people to provide information and guidance that ordinary people can understand, said Alexandra Ankara, a former barrister who said this scheme's head of policy, who where who are the Windrush generation. People who arrived in the UK between 1948 and 1971 from the Caribbean countries have been labelled the Windrush generation. It refers to the ship MV Empire Windrush, which docked in Tilbury on June 26, June the 22nd, 1948, bringing workers from Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and other islands to help fill post-war labour shortages. The ship carried 492 passengers, many of them children. It is unclear how many people belong to the Windrush generation, but they are thought to be in their thousands. They are among more than 500,000 UK residents who were born in a Commonwealth country and arrived before 1971. According to the University of Oxford estimates, the influx ended with the 1971 Immigration Act, when Commonwealth citizens already living in the UK were given indefinite leave to remain. After the British passport holder born overseas could only settle in the UK, with both work permit and proof of a parent or grandparent being born in the UK. A Home Office spokesman who said he could not comment on staffing issues said the department took any allegation of racism very serious and any accusation through thoroughly investigated. We reject any suggestion that the Windrush compensation scheme is discriminatory or it does not support victims, he added. The scheme is more inclusive and open than any other compensation scheme in the UK. By the end of September, 196 people had received compensation from the scheme, amounting to over 1.6 million compensation. The fund has estimated budget for of at least 200 million. My granddad was part of that Windrush scheme, the Windrush scheme. My grandfather, my mum's step grandfather was in the World War, was part of that Windrush scheme, helping the Caribbeans to ashore in the UK. As you know, my mother is Caribbean, some of you listeners, and I'm so thankful that what my granddad done throughout the World War II and his service is we're on level playing field. You know what I'm talking about, you know where I'm coming from, and you know which direction I'm heading. Sunak Mall's public sector pay freeze for millions. Sunak Mall's public sector pay freeze for millions. Millions of public sector workers in England could face a pay freeze next year, the BBC has learned. 5.5 million affected included key workers. In order for the service during the pandemic for the armed forces and police to teachers and civil servants. It is thought NHS staff would be exempt from measures, but unions call a freeze for any sector insulting. That is very bad, and these are key workers. Key workers. We need them at the most high right now. The police might be a little bit quiet on jobs due to a lot of people not earning any money. They can't go and buy their narcotics, they can't buy their alcohol, they can't go into nightclubs or bars. Their work might slow down a little bit, but they're still doing a massive. Always been doing a hell of a job. They're putting their head on the line to feed their own family. They deserve support, absolutely. I mean, I'll admit I've never been I had to hire a lot of policemen for my previous, but their job, if you think about it, theoretically, their job, they're putting their life, their head on line every day to go and they got to go into a drug raid. They don't know what's behind that door. They've got stupid people driving on the motorways under the influence of alcohol, narcotics. You don't know these people what have got in their car. If they've got baseball bats, hammers, or guns, knives, you don't know what they've got, and they're pulling these people, like these juveniles, over. You got to give them the pay bracket they deserve. I mean, we're paying professional, but you can't pay them professional football players money because there's so many of them. Perhaps I don't know. Is there more police than there is professional football players? Yeah, of course there is. But they do deserve a good wage packet. Let's have it right. They do deserve a good pay packet. It is for NHS staff would be exempt from the measures, but unions call a freeze for any sector insulting. The Treasury is trying to bolster public finances after the huge rise in spending to fight coronavirus. The government bond has hit its highest October level ever last month. As the UK continued heavy spending to support the economy during the coronavirus pandemic, Chancellor Rishi Sunak will set out his spending review next week, giving details of how much money will be allocated to different departments during the 2021-22 financial year. He is expected to make the case for pay restraint to affect the fall in private sector earnings this year. The Treasury declined to comment, but pointed to language used by Mr Sunak in a letter about spending review in July. The letter outlined, in the interest of fairness, we must exercise restraint in future public sector pay awards, ensuring that across this year and the spending review period, public sector pay levels retain parity with the private sector. The Treasury also taken interest in reports by think tank Centre for Policy Studies that suggest a 3-year freeze. It could save 23 billion by 2023, or 15 billion in NHS workers were exempt. Health Secretary Matt Hancock refused to comment on whether he had fought for NHS workers to be exempt from any possible public sector pay freeze. Mr Hancock told the BBC he wasn't going to comment on internal discussions, adding that he will always fight the NHS. There's an incredible tough economic situation as well. In September, the Office for National Statistics calculated that public sector workers on average earned 7% more than private sector workers last year. Full body blow. Any gap will have further widened in a year that has seen falls in private earnings during pandemic shutdowns, while public sector wages have been maintained. The Chancellor wishes to maintain party indicates that a freeze or cap on pay levels in the coming years will be justified as a response to the divergence. Are they suggesting that obviously a lot of us have been furloughed off work, so they've got to make up the difference somehow? So taking it off, our highest wanted workforce, the key workers, taking the money off the highest. Why don't are the politicians going to take a pay cut as well? Are the footballers going to take a pay cut as well? Is the rich just going to get richer and the poor are going to get poorer? These are middle class workers, the people that work in the NHS, the police, the fire service, the armed forces. They're key. They're very, very key workers. They're middle class people. Should they really be getting docked their wages? Is that fair? They're in a contract that we need them every day, regardless of what's going on or going on. We need them every day. There's no two ways about it. Union, the Unite Trade Union said a pay freeze would be insulting to those public sector workers that have underpinned the fabric of society during this continuing pandemic. In the spring, the Prime Minister was praising NHS staff for saving his life. Now, in autumn, he needs to ensure that his Chancellor turns those warm words into hard cash for those to ensure the efficient running of the NHS schools and colleges and the myriad of service provided on a daily basis by the local councils. The Union's General Secretary David Prentice said a new pay cap would be a cruel body blow to the NHS staff, not to the frontline. Key workers across the public service remain at the heart of the fight against COVID, he says. And Matt Breck, the Fire Brigade Union General Secretary, said he warned ministers in the summer that capping key workers would not pay the bills, but it seems in government memories are short and morale's in short supply. It won't be lost on workers that their wages are set to be cut whilst government continues to hand out contracts worth billions of pounds to its cronies. It's such a it's just a shambles. How can they be cutting the setback on key workers? I mean, it's shameful for me to stay because I'm trying to become a politician myself, but this is very ironic that they're key workers. How can they answer? That, it saved Boris Johnson's life. What have they just said? No disrespect. I'm a Johnson myself. I'm not going to write my own nature off. But something's got to be said. Something's got to be said. They could have said, well, we're not saving you today, Boris Johnson. You give us a pay cut. Come on, it's realistic. These are key special workers. You can't be writing these people off like this. I don't know if it obviously not just Boris Johnson in the glass house. It's all the ministers, whoever's making these assumptions that we need to start cutting back the payers' money. We're not blaming Boris Johnson. He might be getting called in by the taxpayer. Who's the tax man at the end of the day who wants to write all these key workers' money off? It's a shock, absolutely a shambles. I'm pretty sure it's not word of mouth of Johnson's thoughts. Absolutely, I hope not anyway, because he is just a messenger. In July, almost 900,000 public sector workers were given above inflation pay rise, including doctors and teachers, because of their vital contribution during the pandemic. But there were complaints that many workers missed out, and unions plan to campaign against the new pay freeze. The savings on pay come as government borrowing stands near a peacetime record, and the national debt is worth more than the size of the economy. UK government borrowing hit 36.1 billion in September, 28.4 billion more last year, and the third highest in any month since records began in 1993. Meanwhile, public debt rose further above a two ton mark, 2 million ton, I think, to 2.6 trillion. Sorry, ton. I'm talking about aggregate. I'm talking about money. 2 ton mark, 2 trillion mark, and a 2.6 trillion mark. Got there in the end. Fiscal watchdog of the Office of Budget Responsibility will also publish its first full assessment since March of the fiscal impact of the pandemic. Thank you, ladies and gents, for listening. I'm gonna cut that short because I've got an important tutorial. It's a short episode. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you on the radio for listening. I really appreciate it. You can follow my YouTube content, guys. I'm on YouTube. If you listen on radio,